House. This is an important piece of legislation that has been talked about for many years, and this government has delivered to ensure that the harm victims experience by such unwanted behaviours are recognised and prosecuted effectively.
Supplementary. Why is it important that stalking and harassment is an illegal and jailable offence?
Well, Mr. Speaker, as I'm sure people understand, stalking and harassment pose a serious threat of serious harm to victims, and the behaviours can be a precursor to even more serious and violent crime. For too long, stalkers have been able to harm their victims through unwanted, persistent and repetitive intrusions into their lives, causing serious emotional and economic harm with few legal consequences. I want to thank those who campaigned for this change and the more than 600 submitters to the Justice Committee who bravely shared their own stories, experience and the impact of stalking and harassment has had on their lives.
Supplementary.
Such unwanted
what feedback has he received on the government's action to protect New Zealanders from stalking and harassment? Why is it important
Mr. Speaker,
that stalking and harassment
the feedback has been
is an
overwhelmingly
illegal
positive, and I
and
quote one from
jailable
Liba
offence?
Zubair from Mr. the
Speaker,
Aotearoa Free from Stalking. I'm sure people understand stalking and harassment pose a serious threat of serious harm to victims, and the behaviours can be a precursor to even more serious and violent crime. For too long, stalkers have been able to harm their victims. I wonder whether some of those who advocated for this change caused them thought serious emotional and economic harm will please few legal consequences. With the broad support of the campaigned for this change and the more than 600 submitters to the Justice Committee who bravely shared their own stories, experience and the impact of stalking and harassment has had on their lives.
Supplementary.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the criminalisation of stalking and harassment
feedback has he received on the government's action
real
to protect New Zealanders from stalking
for too
and
long,
harassment?
victims
Why is
have not
it
been the
important
priority.
that stalking and harassment is an illegal and jailable
victims of sexual violence? Well, Mr. Speaker, have the ability to decide whether an adult sex offender has their name permanently suppressed. That, I think, is another important change. The government's also been reforming the sentencing regime, capping sentence discounts at 40% and amending the principles of sentencing to include the requirement to take into account victims' interests, as committed to in our coalition agreements with New Zealand First and the ACT Party.
Great, Minister.
Question number 10, the Honourable Julianne Genter.
Tēnā koe, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Transport. Can he confirm that in 2024, New Zealand had a year-on-year decline in electric vehicle sales of 70% compared to 2023? And if so, does he concede that his government's policies significantly reduced demand for electric vehicles?
The Honourable Chris Bishop.
Yes. Members' data aligns with data held by the New Zealand Transport Agency. There are a number of factors affecting the demand for electric vehicles. Weaker economic conditions have affected consumer demand for vehicles more generally. So, for example, total vehicle sales are actually down around 14% in 2024 compared to 2023. The global supply of used EVs and at the age and price point New Zealand consumers are looking for is constrained. And many consumers who were early adopters and fast followers, I'm advised, brought forward their purchase of EVs in 2023 before the Clean Car discount ended.
Does he think Simon Lucas, a Mitsubishi dealer, is wrong when he says the removal of the Clean Car discount caused sales to, quote, collapse by 80 to 90%?
There was too much commentary during that question. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Is he saying that Simon Lucas, a Mitsubishi dealer, is wrong when he says the removal of the Clean Car discount caused sales to, quote, collapse by 80 to 90%?
No, I'm not saying that. He's probably right on the margins. If you take away free money for middle and higher income New Zealanders who go out and buy Teslas and Konas, paid for by people who can't afford to make the transition to EVs, like our hard-working farmers and tradies who were stung with a ute tax in order to transfer the money to largely middle and upper income consumers who wanted to go out and buy a Tesla. No, he's probably right on the margins. But that regressive, inequitable, stupid scheme, this government did away with.
Does his government have an active policy to transition its own fleet by prioritising the purchase of electric vehicles? And if not, why not?
Mr. Speaker, the government's focus is not on transitioning its own fleet to electric vehicles. This government's focus, as that member should know, is on cost-effective solutions and value for money. And we have asked government agencies to prioritise their focus on that, because that is the single best thing we can do for the New Zealand economy, which remains our overriding focus.
So has his government completely given up on electrifying our vehicle fleet because it's inconvenient for the importers of highly polluting motor vehicles? And what does that mean for our carbon reduction targets in transport?
Well, Mr. Speaker, electrification of the New Zealand economy is going to occur over time, and it will occur for our vehicle fleet. New Zealanders will make the transition and switch to electric cars and electric vehicles, but we are not going to put into law a scheme like the previous government did that does not work. The simple reality is the clean... Well, here's the reality.
That's enough.
Unless there are urgent changes made to the Clean Vehicle Standard that is going through Parliament right now, the price of many ordinary cars that New Zealanders use and buy, both used and new, will rise, in some cases in punitive ways, on the 1st of January next year, and the government is taking action to prevent that.
Why did he and his officials only consult motor vehicle importing industry and not any independent climate experts or anyone else in the development of this legislation? Is it because he thinks it's his job as a government to respond to the needs of the motor vehicle importing industry and not reduce emissions?
Mr. Speaker, the government went and talked to the people who import used and new cars, because they are the people affected by the previous government's stupid policy.
Can he confirm that it is his government's priority to improve margins for the importers of high emissions vehicles rather than policies that increase the number and availability and affordability of electric vehicles for New Zealanders?
No, that's a mischaracterisation of the policy intent. The government's intention through the changes we're making to the Clean Car Standard through Parliament right now is to avoid a situation where people buying ordinary run-of-the-mill petrol-powered cars on the 1st of January next year pay a punitive amount more to buy either used or new versions of those cars because of the incorrect and faulty settings of the Clean Car Standard. We are fixing that, and if the members of the opposition want to go out and raise the price of ordinary cars at a time when many Kiwis are doing it tough, good luck. I suggest they actually don't.
A point of order. The Honourable David Seymour.
Mr. Speaker, you've forbidden members from wearing the badges of registered New Zealand political parties. Is it permissible for a member to wear the flag of a state that the New Zealand government doesn't even recognise, such as Julianne Genta wearing a Palestinian flag badge?
No, it's not. As of Tuesday, a week ago, as notified to all party whips, that type of display is not acceptable. I'd ask her to remove it or leave the House, one of the two. We'll move on to Shannon Halbert, question 11.
Tēnā koe, Mr. Speaker. Question to the Minister for Vocational Education. Does she agree with Skills Group Head of Consulting Josh Williams that vocational pathways are capped and it's trapped? If not, why not?
Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Speaker, I agree with the full quotation from the inimitable Josh Williams, which the member has paraphrased, and I'll read the full quotation. At the moment, there is a lot of fantastic innovation and a lot of very good vocational pathways delivery happening, but it's capped and it's trapped in schemes like Gateway and Trades Academy, and there's little pockets of money here and there, which, Mr. Speaker, is precisely why the excellent Minister for Education and I are working closely to ensure that in the proposed replacement to NCA, there are strengthened vocational pathways that, based on industry-led skill standards, will provide clear pathways into work or further vocational training.
Supplementary. Can she assure the House that no young people have been turned away from foundation training under her watch due to a lack of course places?
So, Mr. Speaker, tertiary funding has always been capped. It's not an open chequebook, although the previous government has at times treated public funding like that.
Look, I'm sorry.
So,
stop. Try and start again without the barb that makes it look like you're building the whole question around a political attack. It's not the role of a minister being held to account.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The tertiary funding is capped.
Supplementary. Will reduced polytechnic courses lead to more or fewer people accessing training?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the tertiary vocational education sector, and particularly the polytech sector, is going to be far more sustainable now going forward, with the very significant exercise we have done in taking out costings and ensuring that they are viable. They are therefore able to offer courses that their communities need, that their industries need, and that will provide pathways into employment for our young people.
Supplementary. Where will people go for work-based training, given her government has overseen record levels of liquidation in sectors like construction?
Well, Mr. Speaker, and we've been labouring this point quite a lot, that work-based learning occurs when employers have the confidence to employ people, and that is for apprentices and trainees as well. So our job of keeping government spending down, of keeping inflation down, ensuring that there is confidence out in the sector to employ people, that is when there will be more work-based training, that is when there will be more apprentices and more trainees out there gaining skills.
Supplementary. Have non-completion rates for apprenticeships increased since cutting the apprenticeship boost to 1 year?
Well, Mr. Speaker, when the apprentice boost was brought in as a COVID response, there was a huge increase in numbers going into apprenticeships. But unfortunately, they weren't doing the training, and therefore the completion rates were less than 50%. That is not a good outcome for those apprentices, it is not a good outcome for the employers, and it is not a good outcome for the government. We want to have apprentices going into apprenticeships who are progressing through their apprenticeship.
Just wait for your colleagues to settle down.
Supplementary. Will fewer courses, fewer employers, and cutting apprenticeship boost lead to fewer or more apprentices completing their training?
Mr. Speaker, having businesses who are confident that the government has got their spending under control, that the economy is coming back, taking on more apprentices, having more sustainable vocational education providers who are operating in an efficient manner, and ensuring that industry skills boards create qualifications and set skills standards that industry want, will make a much better vocational education system.
Live coverage from the House of Representatives will resume at 7 p.m. An uncorrected transcript of today's oral questions is available at www.parliament.nz.
Should we run it? Ask me some questions. Come. Waiting for the minister. Waiting for another officer, but they didn't come in from the papers.
So all you need to do is just say the committee is resumed because we've already started.
Okay.
Kia ora everyone. The committee stage is resumed. I call on Camilla Bellich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just following on from my colleague Duncan Webb's questions to the Minister, which I believe were around Clause 8 and 9, I wouldn't mind moving on to Clause 10 and 11 in Part 2. So these are also in relation to the changes that are proposed under the amendments to the Anti-Money Laundering and Countering Financing of Terrorism Act 2009. So the question in relation to Clause 10 is just really a very quick question, both in relation to 10.1 and 10.2. They seem to be just reorganising the same information, and I can't recall specifically discussing that or the rationale for that, but if the Minister has anything to add, be interested in that. Then in relation to Clause 11, which makes changes to Section 40 of the Act, I do have some more substantive questions for the Minister, because in this particular part, there appears to me to be more substantive. I'm not saying it substantive in the sense that it goes against what the bill is trying to achieve through making minor and technical amendments, but there is a few changes to a couple of things. So the first thing I noted was essentially there's a carve out, as I can see it, for law firms. When I looked at the original bill that this